what you doing?
I'm making a Gonk Droid planter for my tomatoes.
Cool,
huh?
Haven't we got enough Star Wars droids?
I know what we could do. We could do a Star Wars Droid Special.
So we've got 5 droids, all inspired from the Star Wars films. In the Star Wars story, the R2s are made by a company called Industrial Automation, and they're Astromech droids. They're a group of droids that work on starfighters. They're mechanics. They have sort of retractable tools, doors that open, all sorts of things, utility arms. So I built Zoe in 2011, and she was a bit like an upgrade from Emmy in that she was much stronger frame, metal frame underneath, wood over the top, and lots of metal features. She was designed to be robust, what I call 8-year-old proof. She's been out to literally hundreds of UK events, Comic Cons, and she's a bit of a child magnet in that she's a bit like Pied Piper when she's out and about. All our droids are controlled by radio control, and I'm a little bit old school and I use a Spectrum DX18, so there's no PlayStation controllers here or Arduino controls. The reason that I choose to use this, and it is a bit kind of unwieldy and a bit bulky, is that I'm the puppeteer and these are the puppets. And to get that fine control that you need as a puppeteer, to bring these characters to life, I need the fine detail controls and the instant response that you get from this kind of radio control system. I also use RF control units, and with these RF control units I can program a number of different features. So for example, if I press a button, I get an instant response from the droid, and again that will add to her character when she's out and about interacting with the members of the public, and it builds the illusion that she is a real character. When we're out and about, we always get asked, how does she work, what's inside, what are the electronics? Now normally, I wouldn't do this, and I definitely wouldn't do this in public, but just for you, you're going to see what's inside. We'll remove her head, and then you can see all the electronics are in here. Right, so there's loads going on in here. It looks very complicated, but it isn't really. This whole unit here is the main electronics. It's hidden away, especially from sort of prying little fingers. It's a cassette system, so the idea is that you undo a couple of bolts, that whole system just pulls straight out and disconnects, so it can be worked on the bench, so you're not having to be inside the droid. It runs on 24 volts, so there's two 22 amp hour 12 volt batteries linked together to give me the 24 volt system that drives the main motors and drives the head. Everything's operated here through a main central kill switch, and we've also we can disconnect the main motors. So when the motors are engaged, obviously we can plug them in, that engages the motors. When that's disconnected, the motors are disengaged, and that's used for just transporting, so you're not pushing the droid around with the motors engaged. Each item on the droid, lighting, motors, everything is controlled via switches, separate circuits, and those separate circuits are all separately fused. So if anything goes wrong with a minor circuit, the fuse just goes, no problem at all. On the back door here, we've got the compressed gas here that operates the fire extinguisher kind of effect. We've got a water canister, so basically she can defend herself if the 8-year-olds get too aggressive, and that the water squirts out of the front and it also squirts out of the back. The main drive system on the top there's a motor that drives the Lazy Susan, which actually drives the head around, and then all the electronics are transmitted up through a central slip ring, so the head can spin 360 degrees without any issues at all. No wires are going to get tangled up, and that can just spin freely with no issues whatsoever.
Named after Isambard Kingdom Brunel, Izzy is a steampunk take on the R2 series. Autonomous, radio-controlled droid, she can move from standing to a sitting position. Izzy has a very steampunk feel. She was made using parts from an old pianola made in 1890. It was discarded in a skip and rescued by Master Maker, much to Mrs. Breaker's horror, who refused to have it in the house. It went into the garden and then got added to the build in progress, and it actually totally transformed it. That means that part of Izzy are 120 years old. Made in 2012, C.I.D was the first of its kind in the UK, a moving T3 series droid. T3-E1 is an Astromech droid, part of the Knights of the Old Republic comic book story. The Old Republic was a galactic government that existed 4,000 years before the Empire we see in the 1977 Star Wars film A New Hope. He was built as a master slicer droid who specialises in IT systems, in other words a hacker, who worked for the crime lord Davik Kang. Davik was a criminal based in the Taris system who was killed in the bombardment of Taris by the Sith. In other words, C.I.D was a badass boy.
Right, we've met Zoe, Izzy and C.I.D. This is Emmy. Now, believe it or not, Emmy is actually 10 years old this year. She was the first complete radio control droid that I actually created. And the reason that she's not kind of going at the moment, the reason she's not powered up, is that she's going through kind of a refurbishment at the moment. We're repainting her, we're adding some new electronics, plus her batteries have died at last. Well, I say at last, they've lasted 10 years, which is pretty good going. So as I said, she's kind of getting a makeover and she's having lots of kind of new bits and pieces put on her. Although saying that, nothing needs doing with her drive system. Her motors work perfectly, all the gadgets still work, the periscope still works, the holo projector projects the Princess Leia. Everything still operates, and you know, like I said, she was the very first radio control droid that we created. So you've seen all 4 droids.
There we go, lads, that's all planted. All we need now is some water. Ah!